All my apps use Google, Gmail, Calendar, Notes, Tasks, Docs, Sheets. Basically, my entire digital life runs through one company. And the other day, while setting up apps on a new laptop, I kept running into the same thing over and over. Log in with Google. That's when I had a pretty unsettling thought. What if I lost access to that account? Or what if I just didn't want Google sitting at the center of everything I do? That is way too much power to hand over to one singular company. So I wondered, is there a way to take a little more control over my digital life, or at least spread things out enough that if one thing goes down, the whole thing doesn't go tumbling over with it too? And in a video where I finally escaped all the Apple apps in the ecosystem, a bunch of you kept telling me the same thing. Just use NextCloud. It does it all for you. Now to me, that just sounded like another Google Drive replacement, and I've already found a decent solution, a NAS. But the more I looked into what NextCloud is, the more I realized, you know what? I think you might be right. And this might be exactly what I need. So in this video, I'm replacing everything Google with NextCloud and seeing whether it's actually a practical solution or just another endless rabbit hole of upkeep and tinkering, only for me to go running back to Google again. Now, the first issue is, what machine do I put it on? And to answer this question, I went to the most obvious place, their website. And honestly, it looked real corporate-y. It advertises itself as a replacement for Microsoft 365, but just more private. That sounds great, but I for sure am not using Microsoft 365 to begin with. But as I scrolled further, I found something called NextCloud Hub, and it has a self-hosted file system, a meeting app, calendars, even an office replacement, as well as a local AI assistant. Now that sounds more like Google's apps. There's even paid enterprise solutions, but in our case, I'll be using a free self-hosted version since I don't want to spend money, so off I went to download it. But it wasn't that easy. The download page has a bajillion links for different versions. There's desktop and mobile clients, which are for interfacing with your NextCloud, but we'll get to those later. What I was really looking for is this one, the NextCloud all-in-one Docker image under the download server category. Docker, my arch nemesis. We meet again. Just kidding, but I do face my battles with it from time to time. Basically, Docker spins up these things called containers with your apps in them. And in this case, we want NextCloud. But you can use Docker to install anything from home automation apps like Home Assistant to note-taking apps like Obsidian. Thankfully, it looks like NextCloud has a very comprehensive guide on how to install it on Linux. But you can use other platforms too, like Mac, Windows, Unraid, TrueNAS, Ugreen, Synology. Basically, you can install this thing on anything that has some computing power and some storage. And I knew the perfect machine for my little de-Googling project, something that has been laying around for a while now, an 8-year-old ThinkPad T480. So I booted it on and saw, perfect, it's got Mint on it. That's Linux, that'll work, right? But when I looked up Docker installation instructions for Mint, well, apparently it's not as supported compared to Debian or Ubuntu, which is weird because Mint is based off Ubuntu. So I figured, let's do Ubuntu server. I loaded it on, put it on the ThinkPad. Since it's just a command line based OS, you can leave your laptop somewhere in the corner and then just SSH or remote into it and type into the command line, which is perfect, which is what I initially thought. This ThinkPad has Wi-Fi, so I figured, hey, let's connect it to the internet and go about to my merry way. Turns out connecting Wi-Fi isn't a piece of cake, and after doing a bunch of terminal stuff, it didn't work. So Ethernet it is. And I plugged it in, I typed in IPA to find out the IP address, nothing happened. I was only one step in, and now there's this huge hurdle. But thankfully, others have walked this path before, experiencing the exact same problems. So I followed guide after guide, hoping that one of them and a restart would magically fix my problem, and after hours of desperation, I gave up and resorted to trying out another OS. But this time, I headed in a different direction, Fedora Workstation. Now, I won't be going into how Fedora feels to use since I made a video about that a while back. But now I can finally install NextCloud. Well, first, I have to install Docker. But that's just a couple of instructions and pasting commands into the terminal. It really was time to enter hacker mode again. After painstakingly downloading Docker, I found a guide that said it's as easy as typing sudo dnf install NextCloud into the command line. I mean, why not take the easy way, right? Why would I have to use Docker if I don't have to? So I did, and the command failed miserably. Apparently that Fedora guide is over 8 years old and is wildly outdated, so I guess back to Docker it is. And then what ensued after, it was something I never would have expected. When you think, oh, I'll just install this, your initial expectation is it'll be easy. I'll just block off 30 minutes, finish this little project, no biggie. And I also thought that. Getting NextCloud to pop up was the easy part. I followed the YouTube videos, instructions, it went without a hitch. Afterwards though, I had to buy a domain from Cloudflare and configure this thing called Nginx Proxy Manager, which we'll call NPM for short. short, all to stumble into problem after problem and while cursing under my breath, wondering why it wasn't working. Have the IT wizards forsaken me? If you're wanting to start self-hosting your own apps but you don't have another device to keep on 24/7, I've got just a thing for you called a VPS. A VPS, also known as a virtual private server, is like a remote computer you can set up and use all without actually needing to own a second PC or doing anything crazy like dual booting. But don't worry, I'll show you how to set it up all today with today's sponsor, Hostinger. To get started, you just add the plan to your cart, and when you're checking out, make sure you use my code SWITCHANDCLICK. That gets you 10% off, which is really nice if you're doing a yearly plan. I'm using Hostinger's KVM2 plan, and for our purposes, these specs with 8 gigs of RAM, 100 gigs of storage, and 8 terabytes of bandwidth are going to be more than enough for self-hosting apps like NextCloud or even a Notes app. That's even enough to host your own image or Jellyfin server too. Once you're in, this is the fun part. You get to choose your distro. Hostinger gives you a ton of options between Ubuntu, Debian, Fedora, Rocky, Arch, Kali, and more. Now you've got your entire server at your fingertips, no matter where you are. And if you're newer to this, or just don't want to remember every command, Hostinger has an AI assistant called Cody built in. You can ask questions to help manage the server, handle common tasks, or troubleshoot things, which is surprisingly useful when you're still learning. Between full root access, built-in security like DDoS protection and automatic backups, plus the ability to snapshot things before you break them, Hostinger is a convenient, secure, and low-stress way to try out self-hosting. If you mess something up, you just roll it back and try again. If you want to do this yourself, check it out at hostinger.com/switchandclick, and don't forget to use code SWITCHANDCLICK for that extra discount. So after sleeping on it and dreaming about IT problems, I woke up with a mission. Well, 2 to be precise. The first was to make sure I could port forward 80 and 443 to my ThinkPad, and the second was to get SSL certificates to get it to work. After reading hundreds of forum posts, watching 15 videos, and replaying the same 3 over and over, I think I made some progress. Using my specific links, proxy.betty'sapps, it actually opened up what it should have. Same with nc.betty'sapps, very good. But still, every time I submitted my desired domain name into the NextCloud page, it spit errors. The domain wasn't pointed, the port wasn't opening properly, I had hair pinning problems. First of all, my hair looks great. It could use a haircut, I guess. And second, what does that even mean? So I went back and forth between Cloudflare and NPM, my Docker containers, with no end in sight. Just me, wanting to punch a wall. At some point, I had to take a break, played some relaxing music, took some deep breaths to contain my utter frustration. And when I came back, I caved. After all that brain power that I used for the past couple days on this project, I realized all the answers out there in forums and videos were just too specific. I need something more tailored to my situation. So I took screenshots of all my dashboards, including my Docker containers, my Cloudflare settings, the NPM settings, my router firewall, and I did the unthinkable. I fed them into ChatGPT while explaining what I had done so far, asking where had things gone wrong. And surprisingly, it came back with things that, well, made sense. I made some small changes, and 30 minutes later, things started clicking. Now, as a newfound self-hosting beginner, I can finally explain to you the process of what I did, which is called reverse proxying. Let's use a fancy food storefront as an example. In a zombie apocalypse, there's zombies walking around. That's the random traffic on the internet. And then there's some specific people, humans, who can pass through, who know the right language and have a good map. Okay, say you do have a person appear at your storefront because they know where to go, aka mydomain.com. Then the next thing your network needs to figure out is what exactly they need from your store. Do they want Jellyfin, Image, NextCloud? Those are the items in the back of your store. All these little apps in nicely packaged Docker containers. Now it's the store manager's job to figure it out. This is the reverse proxy manager, Nginx in this case. He asks the customer, what do you want to get? And they reply, Jellyfin. Also, the customer is not allowed to browse the store himself. The resources are much too valuable, much too private to let them do that. The store manager then looks into his brain and it spits out, Jellyfin is on aisle 8, row 34. That's your local IP address of your ThinkPad, something that starts in 192.168. The store manager takes the food, brings it back to the counter, gives it to the customer, and that's it. Basically, instead of forward proxying, which is where clients on your private network request things on the internet, this is the opposite, where clients on the internet are trying to access your resources on your private network. And because they're private resources on a private network, there's a lot of protections you need to go through to protect yourself. The first was the SSL encryption, and the second was Cloudflare's proxy servers to hide our actual public IP address. And the last was that we only port forwarded the ports going to the single device that has the proxy manager on it and nothing else. Now the proxy manager manages all the incoming traffic and says, I'm going to give you this, I'm going to give you that, and the customers are not allowed to go behind design there themselves. So that's how it works. And finally, my NextCloud installed. I got all green circles. My single greatest accomplishment in my life. Maybe not the best or the only, but it took a lot of work. I refreshed, logged into NextCloud, and there it was. Ah, yes. So beautiful. It said good afternoon, had all these things under it, recommended files, talk mentions, upcoming events. Sure, I have no idea what any of these icons at the top mean yet, but I did it. So looking at it, the first page is this customizable dashboard with widgets. Then talk is like Zoom a bit, not perfectly like that, but a bit. It's more like Slack meets Microsoft Teams meets Discord, and it all had a baby. Then there's files, which is like Google Drive. I won't be using that much. And then you got photos. I use Image for my stuff, backing up my photos, so I will not be moving images here, but it's cool. It's an all-in-one solution. There's an activity tab. You can see every task that anyone has done on your NextCloud, a contacts list, cool stuff, calendar, tasks. So I mainly plan on using Calendar, Notes, and Tasks to replace Google Calendar, Google Keep, and Google Tasks. Boom! And off to the races I went. I installed the official NextCloud Notes app on my phone, and surprisingly, this thing has a horrendous 2.3 star rating. Now that wasn't reassuring in the slightest. There also aren't any dedicated apps for tasks or calendar on iOS. So what you're saying is I went through all this effort to self-host NextCloud, only to realize it's not available on every ecosystem? What the heck was all that effort for then? Fortunately, I learned you can use this thing called CalDAV as an account for contacts, tasks, and calendars instead of iCloud or Google. CalDAV apparently is an open standard that lets people sync calendars across different devices and platforms. It's pretty sick. We need some more open standards like that. Basically, you go into NextCloud, generate a new password for your device, and then you go into your phone and add CalDAV an account, and boom, I had my NextCloud tasks and my NextCloud calendar on my Apple Reminders and Calendar app. Now all that's left to do was to live with it and see if it was seamless as they make it out to be, or if it's just full of bugs. Eventually, I had to force my production guy Zach to do it too, because he always has to see my calendar and our schedules are synced up for shoots. So I made him a user, gave him permissions, and now he has it too. So if you have a family, you can do that for them too. But there was one small problem. Every time I change my calendar, he has to manually refresh his page to get the update. Google Calendar did it automatically, so it's a little inconvenient. And when I add tasks with deadlines, he can't see those. So I need to remember to add those as actual events on the calendar. Now every day now, he's been coming into work saying, when are we switching back? Well, I don't know if I will. But a couple days later, I encountered my first huge problem with NextCloud, the Notes app. Surprise, surprise, the Notes app actually had a good reason why it was rated so low. It constantly disconnects, it doesn't sync properly, and it doesn't even stay logged in. I almost just went back to Google Keep right there. Notes are so important to me. I'm taking notes all the time on random thoughts. So why would I use something that doesn't work properly? That's just a pain. But I knew better. There's other alternatives out there instead of just running back to Google. Now, I've tried different ones before that are open source: Joplin, Standard Notes, and NextCloud. They're all very privacy focused with self-hosted options. And since I've leveled up drastically since the last time I tried it in my free and open source apps in another video, I figured I would conquer something I had failed before. Standard Notes. We meet again. This is a private notes app that's owned by a well-known parent company, Proton. We know them for Proton Mail, Proton VPN, all their other privacy stuff. This time though, I breezed through the setup, got the server up and running in no time. I'm the Docker master now, right? Well, not exactly, because when I went to log in, it kept prompting me over and over and over to put in my username and password. So I put it in, only to see it pop up a second later. Plus it didn't even sync between my phone and my laptop. Clearly that wasn't usable. So I looked it up, what did I do wrong? And the solution actually was really simple. All I had to do was add this one line to define the cookie domain to my Docker file, and then it would keep my domain in its cookies and stop asking for my login. Then magically, everything started working. The sync started working. It stopped prompting me. Now this is nice. Unlike NextCloud Notes, Standard Notes is so much more developed. It has a seamless writing experience. It syncs from different devices quickly, and I don't have to prompt it. It even does it when I'm on 5G. It does it all the time. It's amazing. So after all this pain, is NextCloud worth it? Is it a viable de-Googling solution? I think that depends. It's good for some Google apps like Calendar, Tasks, file sharing, but because I hosted it on an 8-year-old ThinkPad with about 256 gigabytes of storage, the file sharing here is pretty limited. If this was a much bigger machine or I attach way more storage to it, I could use it as a backup to my photos and even use it to replace Google Drive. But even with all that said, there are some Google things that I actually don't plan on giving up, and that's Google Mail and Google Maps. Our business uses Google Workspace, and it just keeps making sense to use that. With Google Maps, I actually like that it knows where I want to go and remembers these addresses because I don't. And what this has taught me is that instead of just defaulting to a single company to solve all my problems, I can go out there and explore the options. Then I get to weigh the trade-offs, make my own decisions, and you can too. And you can truly pick and choose what serves you better. Although, when I looked at standard notes, I noticed Proton has Proton Calendar, Proton Mail, Drive, Meet, Docs, Sheets. I mean, what? If they have a task app, this could be the endgame Google replacement we're all looking for. But if you're interested in more open source, ecosystem agnostic apps, check out this video right here. And let me know, are you gonna install NextCloud? Peace out.